Well, Donald Trump is sending shockwaves throughout the markets because he's negotiating fast on ending up this Ukraine war. And he's really throwing Zelensky under the bus, which is shocking the whole military-industrial establishment. All of Europe is up in arms. Macron is having an emergency meeting. And this is what sets things, this is what sets everyone into instability, because Trump is like, he's saying, hey, Zelensky's a mediocre comedian. He's acting like a dictator. Wow. I mean, this is old school Trump saying stuff that sounds incendiary. But it's the reason why when I started talking about the connection between economics and news cycles, especially in the era of Trump, 3 years ago, when I started talking about like gold and things like that, do you realize the price of gold has gone up almost 45%? If we invested a little bit every year over the last 5 years, we'd have an 88.8% return. The gold fanatics were right, and it keeps on going up. Now, no one ever knows where the stock market's going to go. We're all nervous about, we're not big investors in my audience all the time. There's always a potential drop, but the gold and the silver is remarkable. So like I said, if 3 years ago when I started doing those Birch Gold commercials, I had been serious about it myself, would have had 45% price rise. Get the ultimate guide to gold in the Trump era. Just go to lancewallnau.com/gold. Get the ultimate guide to gold. lancewallnau.com/gold. Call one of their experts. Roll over that retirement account. Move it in there and put it in the place where, like I said, 45% over the last 3 years. It's incredible. And I don't think it's stopping. I think it's going to, one source I looked at, investinghaven.com, believes that the gold's going to go up from, what is it now, Mercedes, 2,900 to 3,200 in 2025. We don't know. But listen, the instability is making it happen. Go to lancewallnau.com/gold. Seriously. Call them up. They're free right now. They'll give you a consultation and talk to you, and you won't regret it. Let's take a look at the shakeup that is happening with Trump and Zelensky. Welcome to a cold day in Texas. Of course, it could be warm where you are. I was in Florida a few days ago. It was 83 degrees in Sarasota. I see why Mercedes is always trying to convince me to move to Florida and retire. Welcome back, Mercedes.
Happy to be here, Lance. You're getting to that age where older Jews, they retire to Boca Raton.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. All I know is I interviewed all these people down there in Bradenton. They said, oh, Brother Lance, we had such hurricanes this year. I said, there you go. That's why I'm not in Florida. Hurricanes. Oh, it was a rough year this year. We had like 3 hurricanes.
You make them sound Amish.
Well,
they sound like the Lapp brothers.
They are, because it was down in Bradenton over in Sarasota with Gerald Durstein's Christian Retreat, and he's Mennonite, yeah.
Didn't know
that. A little bit
that.
Mennonite. You picked up on it. Okay, so now listen. Then I was doing Flashpoint last night. I looked like I was on a dog sled in the middle of the night, driving with my buddy there, Dave Yarnes, in a truck in the back hills of snowy Carolina. But we're in Dallas today, where it's subhumanly cold. That's why I'm dressed up. You guys want to wonder why I'm wearing all this paraphernalia? All right, let's talk about what's really interesting. And I grabbed this hot off the press for you guys right now. Trump, man, is he not entertainment 24/7? Zelensky stepped in it with Donald Trump. Trump calls Ukraine Zelensky a dictator without elections. Ooh, you don't want to get on Trump's bad side when he's negotiating. Trump slams Zelensky over lack of elections. This probably is making Putin very happy, because the Russians love sowing chaos into elections in Ukraine, because that's their forte. They really want to reacquire it politically. Donald Trump blasted Ukrainian President Volodymyr. Most of us don't think about the name Volodymyr.
Voldemir?
Isn't it Voldemir? Isn't that the name of the guy from that Harry Potter thing?
Oh, that's Voldemort.
Voldemort, oh, whatever.
He who shall not.
All right, Volodymyr Zelensky, Volodymyr, I thought it was Vladimir. Volodymyr Zelensky as a dictator without elections. Zelensky better move fast or he's not going to have a country left, Trump wrote on Truth Social. Oh, no, he wrote it on Truth Social. In the meantime, we're successfully negotiating the end of the war with Russia, something I'll admit only Trump and the Trump administration. I love how he refers to himself in the third person.
Yeah.
Only Trump, like it's some kind of a, special, I don't know, lightsaber he uses. Trump added, I love Ukraine, but Zelensky's done a terrible job. His country's shattered and millions have unnecessarily died. Oh, no! Trump said Europe's failed to bring peace and Zelensky wants to keep the gravy train going. You know what? You don't take money out of Trump's pocket. The United States is like his business right now, and he's mad at everybody who's trying to take money from his company. Mm-hmm. And then he says this. He says Zelensky's a modestly successful comedian. Ooh, that hurts for a man who likes to think of himself as an entertainer. A modestly successful comedian managed to talk the United States into spending $350 billion to go into a war it couldn't be won. Never had to start that war, but he did without the U.S. And without Trump, it'll never be settled. Trump decried how the U.S. has spent $200 billion more than Europe. And Europe's money's guaranteed. What does that mean? Europe's going to get paid back, but the United States, $200 billion will go down the toilet. And then Trump goes, half the money sent to him's missing. Half the money sent, meaning that they can't account for where it went and who it went to. He refuses to have elections. He's very low in Ukrainian polls. The only thing he was good at was playing Biden like a fiddle. Well, here's the mistakes. Why is the boss so mad? You know why the boss is so mad? I'm going to tell you why, Mercedes. I'm going to tell you, these people should call me. I've been studying Trump for 10 years. I could tell you what he's going to do before he does it. Here's what happened. Zelensky made a real big mistake. Trump doesn't like him and doesn't like the situation, but he might, for the sake of negotiation, be a little bit more statesmanlike. But Zelensky criticized Trump Wednesday. He criticized him in comments in Kiev to reporters. And he said that Trump lives in a disinformation zone, meaning poor Trump, he lives like the liberals and the New York Times and the left and the swamp and the Lindsey Graham Defense Department. They're informed. Trump lives in his own kind of like fabricated Trump universe. Big mistake to make with Trump, to imply that he doesn't get the information because he lives in a distortion field. So nearly 1 year past the expiration of Zelensky's 5-year term, not surprisingly, what do you think the conditions are? What do you think? Come on, folks. What do you think the conditions are to get out of that? And we have to get out of that because it's a $200-300 billion sinkhole we cannot afford. All right, so Russia wants elections, obviously, so they could sow chaos. Not to mention, they're going to have a more sympathetic figure elected that'll be less, hard to work with than Zelensky. So they want to get a softer person in. Then they want to take more land than they've got. They want to guarantee that it'll never go in the Union, that Ukraine will never join the European Union, never become part of NATO, rather. And will never have a nuclear capacity. And the United States will end up being the land guarantor because no one in Europe has the muscle to be able to say, we'll promise you protection. And they know Trump's got a big ego. So Putin's going to let him look like he's done it. Trump did it. But Putin's going to get, everything he wants out of this, including the Donbass region, et cetera, real estate, which is pro-Russian anyway, so it's just the way that cookie crumbles. But the three-stage plan, ceasefire, Ukraine elections, and then the peace deal, is what Rubio is now negotiating in Saudi Arabia. Did you know that? Why are we in Saudi Arabia, by the way? I guess couldn't do it in Europe because, France and everybody's obviously all together against Russia. So the closest neutral party they could find was Saudi Arabia. Interesting. So that explains, I figured it out myself. That's why they're in Saudi Arabia doing all this negotiating. That's my eyes, some Mercedes. I've given you the information that's important. Trump just slammed Zelensky. Mm-hmm. He's mad at him. He's calling him a second-rate comedian. Can Zelensky afford to further provoke the Trump Meister?
I think this war's ending. I think Trump's on the case. We're about to see the end of this war. Money laundering. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, something along those lines. And yeah, I think he's gonna close the deal. I was really impressed with Rubio when he was out there, and I think they're getting very close. So we'll see what happens with Zelensky, but I think this money train's gonna dry up.
All right, second insight. I want you guys to catch this. Going to give you an insight into Trump. Don't lose this one. Why would Donald Trump say that he's not endorsing offhand J.D. Vance to be his successor? Why would that be? I'm looking at you for a reason. Why would that be?
No, I know, but the problem is we sit next to each other. People don't realize, and then you'll look at me, and then we're
folks,
not looking
when I
at you.
turn my head, I'm looking at you, kid.
Thanks.
All right, why would that
Carl,
be?
who's to my right. Okay, so you're telling me Trump's saying that the heir apparent is not J.D. Vance?
No. He made the comment that, well, are you endorsing J.D. Vance as your heir? And he's saying, no. I mean, there's a lot of, and he's a great guy, and he's young, and it's new in the administration. And so I think he's brilliant. But no, I'm not saying it has to be him. Why would Trump do that?
Well, one, I think it's early, right? We had Pence for 4 years. And then right there at the end, we were like, what in the world?
Oh, you think Trump has some TDS from Pence? Like, yeah, I don't want you can go weird on me at any point.
Trump is loyal to people who are loyal to him. There are people like Apollo White who have been in his life for years, and he is loyal to people who are loyal to him. And I think J.D. Vance is new, on the Trump team, and I like J.D. I like him a lot, and so we'll see what happens. But if I'm Trump, I'm kind of hedging my bets. I'm taking in data points, going to see who it is, and who knows what world we're going to live in 4 years from now.
I'll tell you what my theory is. I'm giving my theory of the case.
Okay, let's hear it.
Very simple. Trump wants all the apprentices competing. Listen, he knows Rubio wants that pork chop. Kristi Noem wants it. He's got young guys over in the Senate. Cotton wants to run. Ted Cruz just wishes he gets another crack at this thing. So what you've got several aspiring younger political people, and Trump wants them all fighting for that spotlight. He wants the You know what? Because the competition's good for business.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to try to outdo the other with being pro-MAGA, pro-Trump, being the heir apparent, giving J.D. a run for his money. So I think that's why he did it. And that's why he did it.
It's smart.
Once I explain it to you, you guys know I'm right.
Oh, yeah.
He's doing it
You're right.
because he wants the tension on the team. Trump loves the competition. I don't know. It's weird. I wouldn't want that. I want everyone to be getting along. He likes that edgy. That's like Alexander the Great. They said to him on his deathbed, "Who will be the heir of the great empire?" And with his last breath, he said, "The empire goes to the strongest." Oh, how strange that is. Let the strongest one have the empire. Well, so they're all going to compete. And right now, Rubio's doing a master class in state diplomacy. But J.D. Vance, when we get back, man, what he did with Europe, I think J.D.'s got the edge with these guys. You know why? Because J.D., he grew up in poverty, yet he went to Yale. He knows the intellectual. He's more intellectual in his Christianity. He's a C.S. Lewis thinker. So he's a more sophisticated thinker. He's an evangelical. In a sense, he's pressing himself into being a real Christian theologically grounded guy.
Yeah.
Trump's preference is pure Pentecostal. That's why he likes Paula White. He feels the anointing. He calls it the it factor. Hey, you either got it or you don't. He's talking about the anointing. But he actually can tell the anointing. But he just gets it. And like the lady with the pink hair at the International Cathedral, she didn't have it. Did you like that? Did anybody like that? She should write an apology. He wants apologies from unanointed sermons. All right, we come back. You don't want to miss what I'm going to drop a bombshell. I want to talk about Paula White for a second. We'll be right back. We're entering a period of time that has increased hostility against people of faith. It's a time when Christians are going to be tested on a moral, physical, psychological, and even a financial basis. I'm here to remind you that God is the one who has blessed you thus far, and he will take care of you in the future. You have a divine responsibility, however, to see trouble and prepare yourself. For example, with record inflation eating away at the value of the U.S. dollar,
The savings in your retirement account is in danger of slipping away. I recommend diversifying your 401k or IRA out of paper assets and into physical gold. And the best way to do that is with a gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. Now that includes no penalties, there's no taxes when you transfer current retirement funds into Birch Gold. To see how it works, I want you to go to lancewallnau.com/Birch and get your free info kit, and you'll be glad that you did.
I had a terrible thought the other day. I have to admit it. I was thinking about it this week. You know, you get to my age. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Getting beat up by the media, got stupid cancel culture Christians stalking everywhere you go. Why won't you say this? Why won't you say that? Because I'm not cannibalizing every stumbling ministry or every bad decision made by other people in ministry. And I say to myself, self, why are you doing this? You know, I could just be at home. Don't have to be in a studio to do this kind of thing. But I'll tell you what, it has to be, if it isn't the calling, don't do it. But now, if it's a calling, Mercedes, we have to ask ourselves, what are we doing for the people? So here's what people come up to me and they tell me when I start to question, should I keep doing this? Why am I doing this? I'm not running a big studio like Glenn Beck, and I'm not big like, Tucker, these other guys. And the reason is because so many people came up to me and said, you kept me sane. Now, it's an unusual statement, and it's periodic. It's periodic bouts of insanity that happen to Christians. But it's like during the election cycle, you kept me sane. During 2020, 2021, throughout COVID or whatever, you kept me sane. So I think part of my mission is to help, like Trump derangement. I coined the term before it was popular. You can read it. 2015. Written right here where I predicted the emergence of Donald Trump as a modern-day Cyrus. I said exactly what's happening right now. Predicted it in book number 2. What's happening in Eastern Europe, what's happening in Central America, how sheep nations and sovereign nations are rising with a populist nationalist movement that Trump becomes the point person starting globally. It's all written right here. But the reality is there's a battle in this kind of stuff. It wears you down sometimes having to be saying stuff people don't necessarily think about, don't like to hear. But you can like and subscribe and leave a 5-star review on our podcast. If you're on Apple Podcast and Spotify, you can keep us in the running. You can keep our voices out there. We'll keep you sane. We'll keep you sharp. We'll keep you from being pulled in by the what does my buddy Bannon call it? The noise, but not the signal. Now, I mentioned Paula White a second ago because Paula White was getting dumped on by so many Christians that were not liking Paula White. I mean, it really offends me.
So true.
It offends me that our people could be so stupid. But I'm going to tell you something. There's a little secret. Mercedes knows this.
Okay.
Do you know, a lot of our movement, not necessarily the charismatics. They could be a bit holy, Pentecostally weird. But it's mostly the Baptist, Evangelical, Assembly of God types, that version. A lot of Christians don't like women preachers. Admit it, Mercedes, your husband is a publisher. There still is a battle to be fought for women leadership. And 100%. They don't like the fact that Trump picked a woman. That's why it doesn't matter. It's a woman. And it didn't help that, she was married before once or twice, but there's a story behind that that's legitimate. But the fact of the matter is that's just enough to offend religious people, including the Babylon Bee. Young guys.
That.
I would expect them. But you know what? They started off as snarky church kids making fun of their parents' religion. And then they got a little more sophisticated, I think, and realized, hey, there's money to be made here. And they went after the left. And then they went after issues they could kind of like South Park in a way that moved with the populist movement. And so they became popular, quotable, postable. But at heart, they're like frustrated Baptist kids that were like preacher kids, pastor kids. They can't stand, so they hate prosperity preachers. They would mock Pentecostalism behind the scenes. They'd make fun of Jesus. But they backed up from some of them making fun of Jesus because they found out they got punished for that early on, but they got encouraged.
I don't know.
Going after other stuff.
Well, just hold on a second. I don't think. Okay, so legitimately, they went to college with me. The guy who started it, we used to have a newspaper called The Beacon, and he had something called The Bacon. And that, literally, like you talk about convergence, that's where he started. And it's a Christian college, so I don't know if that's
Christian college, religious college.
No, I went to that college. No, but I'm just saying that I don't.
Come on,
know.
you know these guys were all like anti-women preacher, anti-prosperity girl preacher, anti-Pentecostal.
Okay. But it's kind of like a comedian where not every joke is going to land, okay? They might offend you every once in a while. You have to laugh at it. But my point is, I don't like that they make fun of Paula either. I will agree with that. But they do have really funny stuff. That's what I'm saying. Babylon
I
Bee?
love them. No. It's kind of like if suddenly you all were to find out that I was like a serial killer. It would be a bummer because I sold you on the fact that I'm not. When you see them come out and do a hit job on Paula where it's like Satan himself is in the White House now.
Oh, wait. Is that what it says?
Yeah,
I got to go
they have
find
a
the
picture
meme now.
of Trump just put in the White House face advisor, and it's the devil himself. I'm just saying, it reminded me. I love them. I love it when they get it right. But there is a religious spirit in the church world that doesn't like women.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't
I
like
see
women
the meme.
preachers.
This is
doesn't like, it doesn't like prosperity preachers. Hey, I got one.
Yeah.
I'm not going to expose her. There's one critic of Paula that actually gave us a fee for speaking. I'm talking like $20,000 for a keynote event at one of our conferences. Because I do business conferences. People think I'm like, Big Daddy, big bucks. So I do. And I do business conferences. They're pretty. They can be $1 million events. $1 million conferences.
Yes, but normally you give the friends and family discount a little too much.
I
quite
know.
frankly.
Well, I give the friends and family.
Let's paint the right picture here. You're
But
not
what
like
I'm saying is, people think therefore they could hit me up.
Yeah.
So they don't know that I'm also, Joe missionary over here supporting my wife with the poor kids in Fort Worth for her vision of being Mother Teresa. So, but then they give me these. I don't mind them giving me their honorarium rate for $20,000 or $10,000 for a keynote speech. I mean, okay, that's all right. I get it. They think that's the going rate for a business conference. Oh. What bothers me is when they come out against Paula White as a prosperity preacher.
Yeah.
Ooh, does that burn the rubber on my tires? Imagine that. I got the inside story on them, and they're mocking her in public for prosperity preachers, but they're billing me. They want to invoice me ungodly prices for an hour's worth of Christian inspiration. Well, I'll tell you, people. That's why maybe I shouldn't be on the. When you get older, you start to leak out and say stuff. When you get older, you say things. And Can you imagine me when I have no filter whatsoever on me?
You know who else came out? I was kind of irritated. Is that Ali Beth Stuckey? And I'm like, here's what I don't get, Lance, is like Democrats don't break rank like this. Like we've got a faith office. This isn't even a pastor position. This is an office in the White House for faith to defend religious liberty inside of bureaucratic government agencies. And we're eating our own. It's not a pastor.
It's just so disgusting. Makes me mad.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cancel you out. Stop it. All right, now. I only got 4 minutes left. I wanted to cover. What else did I want to cover? I wanted to cover. I got a little carried away there with Paula, but I'm just pointing it out. Victor David Hansen. I might go a little bit over here and get into the next segment. Oh no, because this is the end of a podcast after this.
I know.
Let's cover JD Vance. JD shook up Europe. JD's proving he has what it takes to be the heir apparent. I'm just saying, how come he offended the Germans? Let's watch the inimitable Victor Hansen.
Well, there has been a maelstrom of controversy about J.D. Vance. Last week, he spoke at the Munich Security Conference, but he chose not to speak just necessarily about security issues, i.e. NATO contributions, but rather the larger problem with Europe itself. And that controversy still continues today. Basically, what J.D. Vance said was, we have to get along, Europe and the United States. We are twins of the Western tradition. But my God, it's getting hard for you. You go after and persecute people who object to abortion. You take American tech companies and try to censor them, even when they conduct interviews in the United States. When Elon Musk talked to Donald Trump on X, you being the collective of Europeans, you wanted to censor it. When a election didn't go the way that the left wanted in Romania, they wanted to stop it. In fact, others have said within Germany that the alternative for Deutschland, if they were to be a majority party in the next election, they might cancel it. So he said, this is not behooving of us. They went crazy. Oh my gosh, the defense secretary, the minister of Germany got right up. This is unsustainable. This is unacceptable. But nobody said it was untrue. It was absolutely true that the so-called libertine, free-loving, open society of Europe is very closed. It's a one-party system in the sense that they only allow
left-wing views. He's saying that countries like France and Germany have right-wing nationalist populist movements. It's the sheep nations rising. The countries that want their culture. They want to have their conservative values. There's an open window here for the gospel to go to these countries because that's what's really undergirding the worldview of total absolute truth does exist in the moral universe, and that it's not all subjectively defined by you, but whether you feel fluid like a male or female or whatever. It's like there is a truth, and truth ultimately has to work out. And if you don't recognize truth in science, if you don't recognize truth in aviation, planes crash. If you don't recognize truth in economics, you have a Great Depression because you can't sustain $1 trillion of debt every 88 days because you feel like it's okay. So he's saying that Europe is in danger. They've gone so environmental crazy with the Green New Deal that it takes them 4 times as much cost to produce a car, whether it's a Mercedes or a BMW or an Audi or something. They can't compete. They have a $270 billion trade deficit with the United States, and they're not operating fair with trade. They've got 70% of their population. It's foreign, Muslim, Sudan, African, but not European. And they're not assimilating into the culture. So in France and in Germany, and in England, they're actually fighting with the culture. And what J.D. Vance is saying in lucid, clear, almost like, professorial language is, hey, guys, you better not keep going in the direction of the leftist craziness that we just came out of, because you will decouple from the United States if you do that, because we're not going there. We're not going back to that. We're not going to suppress free speech. You guys need to open up your markets, tax left, let's get your borders sorted out, let immigration have a policy, and preserve your culture. By the way, Western civilization, Tucker said it, so true, is Christian civilization. The story of Western civilization is the story of Christian influence in Europe and the United States, Canada, and into the South. Well, we got to end here for this part of the program. And we'll come back in a minute for War Room. But right now, I got to end my podcast. I do 30 minutes a day, and we have to end. Mercedes?
Yes, sir.
How can people keep in touch with us? Well, I guess water here.
Yeah, sure. So if you want to tune in every single day, you can just go to lancewallnau.com/podcast. Check us out there. Also, you always go to lancewallnau.com, get the latest news, or check Lance out on X. That's going to be at Lance Wallnau. That's where we're sharing a bunch of stuff. And we have some exciting news that I'm looking forward to releasing the next couple of weeks of a new and a different way that you can stay plugged in with all things Lance.
We're going to come up with another way, a way to work around the ubiquitous abstract maze of the labyrinth of all these platforms. We're going to have one way to connect. Can't wait to see that breakout. All right, we're going to stop right here. Like and subscribe, leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. God bless you.
Just like all of you, I had problems sleeping. I had tried every pillow out there and nothing worked. I'd flip-flop all night, use my arm for support, and fall asleep, or I'd wake up with a sore neck or maybe a headache. Well, quality sleep comes from keeping your neck straight at night. You have to fill in that space between your head and your bed. That's why I invented My Pillow. My Pillow's patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs, and it doesn't matter if you sleep on your back, stomach, side, or any combination of all three.
When I got My Pillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get Classic King My Pillows for only $19.98. Queen size just $18.98. Standard Classic My Pillows only $14.98. That's right, only $14.98. Plus all orders $75 or more ship absolutely free.
Go to mypillow.com and use promo code Lance to save big on all of Mike's best products. That's promo code Lance. Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate the world.